Frustrations is it's just a little ritual, and I think for those of us who've been to Asia and been to Kopan or been to a big retreat with our lamas, it just kind of, it's like a reminder, you know? It's kind of like if you have a Christmas cookie left over from Christmas or something, and then you get to eat it, and it reminds you of Christmas. So I think it kind of reminds us of our connection to an experience that we had that was very powerful and transcending, and something that we want to repeat again. But it's also a way of kind of opening your heart to receiving a new experience. That's the purpose of it, more than just helping us remember something that we enjoyed, you know. Yeah. So some of you were here last night, and some of you have been here all 2 nights. And some of you are new tonight, but I think the idea of this these evenings were, what was it called? Something like using the mind in meditations. Yeah. Yeah, and I talked last night for half an hour, and I won't do that again, but basically the idea is that the emotions are, they actually have like a subtle form that lives in our body, a subtle energetic form. And they are related to certain organs and energy patterns in the body. And so if sometimes it's easier to balance our emotions and balance our states of mind by working with the body as well as the mind. And that was what we talked about last night, was that according to just about every Asian source of medicine or wisdom, ascribes to this reality that the mind and the body and the emotions are all interconnected. So I found in my life that quite often, if I have the need to settle my mind and open my heart, there, one way is to sit and meditate, but quite often, sometimes if the mind is quite agitated, I find that working with the body goes there quicker. And then I can sit down and meditate and pay attention to what's going on. I think it's real important to sit and meditate. You don't have to call it meditate, but just be present with yourself. I mean, we spend a lot of time taking care of our body, but it's equally important, I think even more important, to just pay attention to what's going on in your mind. And we're always so busy. We use our mind all the time, but we never stop to really tune up the instrument. If you play a guitar, you're definitely going to tune the guitar before you play it. But we just run our minds ragged. We don't tune up cars, we change the oil, and I mean, we sleep and eat, that makes something, but that means something, but there's the kind of clarity that comes in your life about what your feelings are, what your directions are, what your motivations are, come when you just don't do anything with your mind, but sit and let it have its own turn, and sometimes your mind will be telling you things that you didn't know were really a problem, and I think one of the biggest aids in this process of getting to know yourself is to cultivate accepting yourself, because in our culture and in most cultures, in order to make it through childhood, there's a socialization process going on where people are telling us, you do this and don't do this, and you have this and don't do that. And so by the time you get to be about 10 years old, you've kind of lost your spontaneity, and you've kind of even lost maybe who you think you are, because you're so busy doing what everybody else wants you to be, I think it's not quite so much now, because I notice children seem to have a lot less discipline these days. And when we were growing up, it's almost like the kids run the house now. And maybe that's a better thing. I don't know. We'll see, So it's, but I think part of what happens to us in our growing up process is that we develop an inner critic, just like the one on the outside of us, the older brother, sister, the mother, the father, the teacher, all the people telling you should be this and you should be that. Well, we internalize that. And then when we sit down to meditate, it's there. And we can't use that same kind of mind to make it go away. But what we need to do is give it a lot of space. Because when we give it a lot of space and begin to entertain a different way of feeling about ourselves, that's really the first key to having meditation that nourishes you instead of just something that's hard. Because meditation should be about nourishment. It should be sitting down and allowing your mind to relax and coming into a space where you feel open and calm and relaxed. And we can't do that if we don't create that space by paying attention to how we relate to ourselves. And we don't have to be, over, well, we do. I always listened to somebody who said, we shouldn't say we need to love ourselves. I think we do. He was saying we just need to accept ourselves and, well, it's true. In order to love ourselves, first we have to accept ourselves. And so I think it's important to really create inside a non-judgmental space where we can just let everything out. Now, that doesn't mean we suspend our ethical discrimination and discernment. We do. But beneath that, there needs to be kind of like this free space where if things are bothering us that ordinarily we wouldn't want to say to anybody else, we need to let it come out so that we can work with it. And so the teachings, the meditation teachings say, when we meditate, there should be no accepting and no rejecting. And what does that mean? It means not only do we not have to follow our thoughts, but we don't really stop them either. Because eventually what meditation's about is just sitting and in awareness. And as soon as the attention or an intention, some kind of movement of mind comes, as soon as you pay attention to it, it just relaxes in its space. And so then meditation begins to become a really peaceful refuge where you can go to just let yourself be. And that takes a little bit of effort, but not so much. It just takes some time. And it takes practice, So maybe you've heard all this before, but I just always think it's a really good idea to remind people to, like Lama Yeshe said, just be kind to yourself, and if sometimes you're supposed to be meditating, you don't feel like it, well, you don't have to. Just lie down, you don't always have to sit like this when you meditate. You can meditate lying down, because it's better to do something than to force yourself to do something, because if you force yourself to do it, you're not going to want to do it the next day. You had that experience? Yeah, so I think part of the thing is with any new habit, it's good to start slow. Don't say, I have to meditate half an hour, because you meditate half an hour, you don't want to do it the next day. So find what's easy. Start with 5 minutes. 5 minutes is easy? Okay, well then maybe in a month try 10 minutes. And after you've sat for 10 minutes, the next day you get up and you don't want to sit on your cushion again, go back to 5 minutes. And just slowly build it up. But if you try to I'm going to be a good person and do this, it's not a judge of what a good person is. I think a judge of a good person is how much you listen to yourself and have compassion to yourself. Give yourself a break. We live in stressful times, So, yeah. So what I wanted to do is show you a few exercises that help you to, when you do sit down to meditate, it's easier. And they also do balance your emotions. So the first night I was here on, was that Wednesday night? Tuesday night. I showed you these little taps. So some of you were here before. Well, I think I'll do the taps again because a lot of people weren't here. And I found out later they're actually part of psychotherapy. I didn't tell you that the other night. Called emotional freedom technique. So, and you can look it up, you know. And I actually was teaching the taps last summer in England. It turned out there was an emotional freedom technique psychotherapist there. And that's all he does with people. You know, you tell your story, you do the taps, and the story, it like discharges the trauma around these stories. Because something about it, it lets the brain reprogram. So if you've had a stressful day or something comes up that is difficult, you know, remember the taps. You know, I just heard about them on the radio one day. This lady from Japan, it was quite a long time ago. And she said it was like if you're driving your car and someone cuts you off and you're all nervous, stop and do that, you know. And so if something happens at work, or you know, you have a fight with your boyfriend, or you know, or just I do it just to open up my energy channel so that I can meditate better. So hello, we're waiting for you, Trez. That's why we didn't start. So now that she's here, we can set our motivation. We couldn't do it without her. Yeah. Otherwise, she couldn't do the dedication. And she's got those nice colors on again. Her Earth Mother colors. So anyway, let's just think that we're just here on this earth for a short time, you know. And think of all the people we know, the ones that just drive us crazy and the ones we love to pieces. But they're all wonderful people, you know. There's not any bad people, there's just bad behavior. And some people just don't know how to behave properly, that's all, you know. So we gotta love them anyway. So let's just take a minute to be kind of grateful, you know, grateful for, I mean, you guys live in the most like fortunate country in the world. You can just be grateful about that, you know. Live in this amazing country on top of the world with these beautiful mountains and the cows that ring the bells and and the flowers and the mountainsides and the edelweiss and all that stuff. So I always, these days, you know, before I start anything, it's a bit of a fad these days, but it's a good one, you know, just being grateful, thinking about our gratitude, you know, gratitude for whatever you choose, whatever, but it just lifts the heart, you know. So let's just do a little bit of that. I think we can take a moment to think that this little center right here is a bright light of shining positive energy, wishing all beings to be happy and free of suffering. And that we feel that in our hearts, and we radiate that out from our hearts as if we're a sun shining here right in the middle of Zurich. And that little sun shines out all throughout the city. touching every single heart of every single being and lifting their hearts and relieving their ego burdens and wishing them all to have total happiness, enlightenment. We can send that light out to all of Switzerland, all of Europe, across the Mediterranean, across the Siberia to China, and across the Atlantic to the Americas, and up and down. We see the whole little planet lighting up with positive energy, intelligent decision-making, kindness, compassion, love, wisdom. Wishing that everyone would care for every other being as if it was their dearest friend or child or mother, father. An end to all hatred and greed. And let's just say, think a special positive thought to the climate talks that are starting in Madrid next week, that they can come to some conclusions and actually take some action to stop the warming of our planet's atmosphere. And an end to all the causes of violence around the world, especially to children. And animals. Everybody. Okay, that's good. Let's do the taps. Okay, so you take your hands like this, and these people get to it twice, you'll remember. And you tap on your eyebrows. And as you tap on your eyebrows, you just take your awareness into your body like you do when you meditate. And just pay attention to relaxing your jaw and breathing into your belly. Then we take the tapping down to just below the eyes. Right on the bone, just at the base of the eyes. You know when you've got the right place to tap when it's sore, because they're acupressure points. And you tap pretty hard. Think to rest closer to your nose. Yeah, and up. Yeah. Does that feel different? Yeah. And then in front of the ears, right on the jaw where the jaw's tight. You can feel your jaw's tight. And then here. You can see it doesn't take very long. And then here, right on top, right below the teeth. Just that one point. And up here, you can feel where it's sore. It's a lung point. Acupuncture point. You poke pretty hard. And then finally here. Then just lift your hands up and just let them drop. And straighten up your back. And tilt your chin forward a little bit and put the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And we're going to meditate for just a few minutes. So we'll do this now, and then we'll get up and do some exercise. We'll come back and do it again and see what it's like after we do the exercises. So you have some kind of test to see how, what happens. So what I'd like you to do is just bring the awareness into the body. You can close your eyes. We did this last night. And imagine that you have a hollow body, and that when you breathe in, it's like almost like you're filling up a balloon that's the shape of your body. From the inside, as you breathe in, it fills it up. Fills up the body with breath and air and light. And as you exhale, the air and light goes out through all the pores of your skin and also down into the earth as it goes down your legs and out your arms. And just do that for a little while. Hopefully it's relaxing for you. Particularly if you really relax your belly and breathe into the belly, it helps to relax the whole body. And also the jaw. Let the jaw relax. Feel your body becoming lighter and lighter. Maybe, maybe not. And as you continue doing this breathing, think about someone who's very dear to you, that when you think about them, you feel warm, loving feelings. Or it could be your cat, your pet, doesn't, some object in the world that when you think about them makes you open your heart somewhat. And if you need to, you can think more about that person so that you feel like a little inner smile that comes inside your heart when you think of that situation or that person, or maybe it's when you're on top of a mountain. And just allow yourself to cultivate that feeling. Wishing that person to be happy. And then you don't have to think about that person, that object anymore, but just allow yourself to continue to feel those warm, loving feelings. And if it helps, you can think to yourself, when I breathe in, I feel love, and when I breathe out, I relax. But if that doesn't work, you don't have to do that. But just kind of continue to let yourself cultivate that kind of an inner warm feeling. And with that warm feeling, there's also kind of an inner brightness that comes inside the body and mind. I mean, if your mind's just full of thoughts, that's okay, don't worry about it. But if you're experiencing some space between those thoughts, then at that point you might notice the brightness and the clarity of the mind. Or if it helps for you to think, when I breathe in, I feel love, and I breathe out, I relax. And every time you breathe in, you just feel this kind of bright light filling up this hollow body with light and warmth. And when you breathe out, you just let go. We add a bit more to the experience of feeling right in the center of the heart that there is the all-abiding Buddha nature that's with you from life to life to life in the form of just what feels like a very bright, bright light drop right in the center of your chest. And it's shining with the brilliance of enlightenment. However that feels or sees, you see, you know. And just have faith that that is actually there. Just imagine that it's there. And then we're going to be doing a little Tonlin with ourselves. So what happens is that when I was asking us to feel this love and light for ourselves, if that didn't begin to vibrate within your nervous system so well, then imagine that any feelings or any stories that you told about yourself, any kind of things about who you are that are interfering with you feeling just fine, just as you are tonight in this place, and I'm okay just as I am. Not only that, I'm happy and I love myself, or however you want to say it. But just think of any of those obstacles, any of those subtle things that those stories, oh, I can't do that, or I don't do this, or this, just without thinking too much about what they are, just imagine that as you breathe in, you're breathing all those concepts about who you are into this bright light at your heart where it's completely obliterated. And every time you do that, you remember that feeling of total love and acceptance, even if you have to imagine it. You just believe that that's there, and as you exhale out, you fill up your body with that light. So as you breathe in, it's like the light is still there, always in this hollow light body, but any kind of interfering kind of dark colors or smoke or that's kind of lurking around in the corners of your body and mind, when you inhale, you're sucking them into your heart where they just get obliterated. And then you offer yourself total acceptance and joy. It's just an exercise, we just pretend. And then just relax. Can't do it too long, it gets boring. So what I'd like to do, after you relax a bit, is, we didn't do this. Did we do this yesterday? I can't remember. Didn't we break up into groups, twos, first night? We did. Yeah, so I'd like to do that again in twos, only I'd like, if you don't mind, if it's not too revealing, but I'd like you to tell the person, next to you, without thinking about it too much, but that what are the stories that you tell yourself that limit your power and your grace and your glory? And just think about it a little bit. Kind of spontaneously. It doesn't take too long, but it's just, sometimes it's helpful to really kind of think about it, And if that's too threatening, you don't have to do it, but are you game to try? Yeah. Okay, let's try. Always time for a cup of tea. Well, we were kind of talking about hearing that there's just as much positive as negative, right? So how do we want to listen to the positive voice, Do you ever think about that? So, I know, is that a good exercise or not? Do you like the meditation, that meditation?
Yes. Nice one.
Yeah. So we could have done it longer, but I thought what we'd do is we get up and do a little qigong and we'll sit down and do it again and see what it's like. I won't give the instruction because now you know what it is, right? You just have this little bright light that's your Buddha nature at your heart, and it's like all your future enlightened activity. And if you've studied Buddhism a lot, you can also think that that's your refuge. You can that it's like when the guru has come to the crown of your head, that little bright light's also inseparable with the Buddha's holy mind, and your mind are inseparable, and your guru Buddha's holy mind are inseparable. So then and once you do it with yourself, then of course you can do it with other people, and that feels even better, because then you let it go out and out and out. But another thing I didn't say, which maybe I'll remember to say, is that something that's even more powerful is when you're taking on, those attitudes that are not so helpful about yourself. You can think, I'm not only taking this on for me, but for every other human being that has that same attitude, I'm going to be breathing this in for them. And I think it particularly is helpful to think about your parents. Maybe that's why when we taught to meditate, we have our mother on our right and our father on our left, because we have internalized all of our parents' inner voices without even trying. And so by breathing in, and it's really good to keep it on the breath, as we're breathing in our own inner voices that aren't necessarily so helpful, that we're taking on our parents as well. And not only does it make it powerful for you, but it makes it powerful for them. And believe it or not, it does have some effect, And I remember my father used to say, I always feel so good, when I'm around you. And because if you're doing Tonglen, people feel it when you're doing Tonglen. And so what's helpful is if you do it as a practice, then you get used to it. Then you can remember to do it when you're in other situations sometimes, And it's such a simple thing, and it's so powerful. So, but it is really helpful to start with yourself, and I don't think in traditional Tibetan Buddhism we do that, But if that is difficult for you, the traditional way is really wonderful too. But because you can think of things about yourself, but everybody has them, so you're just taking on everybody's, and it's actually more powerful. But the one thing about sitting with yourself sometimes is if you just kind of are sitting at that place where you're not really doing anything yet, but you're just sort of sitting in an inner comfortable environment, if your mind's relaxed enough to do that, then sometimes a little voice will come out you never heard before. When you've gotten more skillful at creating an inner safe space, then other parts of you that maybe were too afraid to come out might come out. and then you can, take that into your heart and shine out, and that's how simple Buddhist practice can be very profound healing of psychological and emotional things. Of course, if it's too much, it's good to talk to somebody about it. But a lot of things we can just work on with ourselves. Are you the one that took the Becoming Your Own Therapist book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is how you become your own therapist. You just do. It's a very simple technique, but it's really helpful, particularly if you believe in it. So let's do some exercises because